Think back to how they used to look at you. There was that heavy electric silence when your eyes met across a room. You felt seen. You felt chosen. You felt, for the first time in a long time, truly alive. Back then, every text was a hit of pure dopamine. Every touch felt like a discovery, and the world had a clarity you'd never noticed before. Now, look at them. They're sitting right there, probably scrolling through a feed or staring at a laptop, just occupying the same air, and you feel nothing. No spark, no heat, just a quiet, hollow indifference that's actually more terrifying than an argument. You're convinced you made a mistake. You think the magic died. You look at the person you once couldn't live without and realize they've become a stranger who just happens to know all your secrets. But you aren't a victim of bad luck. You're a victim of your own biological wiring. Your brain didn't lose the love. It just decided you didn't need to feel it anymore to survive. To understand why the flame dies, we have to look at the marketing phase of the human. When you first meet someone and the chemistry clicks, your brain goes into acquisition mode. It's a high-stakes, high-energy biological crisis that we've collectively rebranded as romance. From an evolutionary perspective, the only goal is attachment at any cost. In this phase, your system is flooded with a chemical cocktail, basically nature's version of speed. This is why you can't sleep, why you forget to eat, and why you're convinced you found the missing piece of your soul. Your brain is acting like a high-risk venture capitalist. It's burning through its most precious metabolic resources, dopamine and norepinephrine, just to secure the deal. It intentionally paints over their flaws. It ignores the red flags. It creates a temporary state of clinical obsession because you need to be insane enough to tether your life to a total stranger. If you saw them clearly in that first week, baggage, annoying habits, and all, you'd probably run. The spark isn't a sign of soulmates, it's a blindfold. But here's the catch. That high is a loan, not a gift. Eventually, the biological bank comes to collect. Once the acquisition is done, once you've settled into a routine or moved in together, your brain realizes the hunt is over. Because your brain is a masterpiece of energy efficiency, it immediately slashes the budget. The dopamine spikes stop. The obsession fades. You aren't falling out of love. You're being transitioned from the marketing department to maintenance. And maintenance is never as exciting as the grand opening. Most of us fall for a psychological trap called the arrival fallacy. We're raised to believe that happiness is a place you eventually get to. We tell ourselves, once we're married, we'll be happy. Or, once we get through this move, things will go back to normal. We treat romance like a mountain to be climbed, thinking the view from the top is permanent. But once you're standing on that peak, you realize there's nowhere left to go. The brain isn't built for permanent satisfaction. It's built for permanent striving. This is the hedonic treadmill. We adapt to good incredibly fast, and then good just becomes the new boring. When a relationship becomes stable, it stops feeling like progress and starts feeling like same. To a brain hard-coded to seek novelty, same feels like dying. In a world that screams you should always want more, a partner who stays the same starts to feel like a limitation rather than a blessing. You start craving a new mountain, not because your partner is broken, but because you don't know how to exist without the climb. There's a trick the brain plays called habituation. It's the reason you stop smelling your own house or why you don't hear the hum of your refrigerator. Your brain filters out anything that stays constant so it can save its energy for things that are changing. In a long-term relationship, your partner becomes the constant. They're there when you wake up. They're there when you sleep. Because they're always present, your brain stops registering them as a separate, valuable person. They become part of the background furniture. You stop noticing the way they laugh or the specific shade of their eyes. You've become so safe to each other that you've become invisible. This is the silent death. It isn't caused by a betrayal or a blow-up fight. It's caused by the weight of predictability. You've reached a state where your partner no longer triggers a response. The tragedy is that we often only see our partners again when they are threatened, when a crisis hits or someone else shows interest. Suddenly, the constant becomes a variable again. The brain wakes up, jealousy spikes, and the love returns. But you shouldn't have to set the house on fire just to remember you lived there. We often kill our own desire by trying too hard to be the same. When you first met, You were two distinct worlds colliding. You had different hobbies, different secrets, and different edges. That difference is what created the friction. You can't have a fire without it. But modern culture tells us to merge into a single unit. We do everything together. We share every thought. We lose our individual selves to the couple identity. By removing the space between you, you kill the possibility of longing. You can't miss someone who never leaves. You can't be curious about someone you think you know perfectly. Intimacy needs a bridge. But if there's no gap between you, there's nowhere for the bridge to go. You're just two people standing on the same square inch of ground, suffocating each other's mystery. The fade is just the loss of your own identity reflected back at you. If the distance is zero, the attraction is zero. We're connected 24/7 now, which has actually made affection fade faster. Because of our phones, we're never truly away from our partners. Even when you're at work, you're in constant contact. This digital tether stops the brain from ever experiencing the recharge of absence. Longing is a vital biological function. It lets the chemistry of attraction reset. When you're always accessible, you're never available. You become a low-value, high-frequency background noise. Worse, we spend our together time staring at separate screens. We're physically close but mentally miles apart. It's a state of cognitive loneliness. Your brain registers their body in the room, but it lacks the emotional engagement. This half-presence is more damaging than total absence because it trains your brain to associate your partner with boredom. Left to itself, every system decays. In relationships, communication is usually the first thing to rot. At the start, you talked for hours about dreams and fears. You were mining each other for data. But as things mature, the talk becomes transactional. You talk about bills, groceries, schedules, and the kids. You stop talking to each other and start talking at each other about the logistics of life. You've replaced insight with infrastructure. When conversations become a series of errands, your partner isn't a source of stimulation anymore. They're just the co-manager of a small corporation. The brain, seeking deep connection, starts looking elsewhere. The love fades because the person has been replaced by a role. You don't love a role, you love a soul. The final stage of the fade is the loss of daring. In the beginning, being with them was a risk. You were vulnerable. That risk created high arousal that your brain interpreted as passion. As we get comfortable, we stop taking risks. We stop being vulnerable because we don't want to rock the boat. We stop saying the hard truths. We trade passion for peace. But peace is just a byproduct of a healthy relationship, not the fuel for one. If you prioritize peace over being real, you'll end up in a very quiet, very dead relationship. The fade is the sound of things left unsaid. So, how do you stop the fade? How do you override a biological system designed to make you bored? You do it by introducing controlled novelty. Step 1, go solo again. The most attractive version of you was the one that existed before the relationship. Go back to that. Pursue a goal that has nothing to do with your partner. Have a secret hobby. Become a variable again. Give them the chance to actually miss you. You have to be a separate person to be a desirable one. Step 2, kill the routine. Your brain needs new data to stay awake. Change the scenery. If you always eat at home, go somewhere weird. Forbid the topic of work or kids for 24 hours. Force your brain to see them in a new light. When you face the unknown together, your brain releases those same chemicals from the marketing phase. Step 3, stop the logistics. Set a no errands rule for 1 hour a day. Talk about things that have no purpose. Ask questions you think you already know the answer to. You'll be surprised to find that the person sitting across from you has evolved while you weren't looking. Step 4, pay the attention tax. Once a day, look at them and pretend you're seeing them for the first time. Force your brain to look past the summary you've created of them. Notice the way they breathe when they're focused, or the specific sound of their voice. You have to pay attention if you want the relationship to pay out. Love doesn't fade because it's weak. It fades because we're beings designed for survival, not for 50 years of ecstasy. Our brains are wired to prioritize the new over the known. The hollow feeling you have right now isn't a sign that it's over. It's a sign that you're on autopilot, and the pilot is bored out of his mind. The question is, are you willing to take back the controls? Are you willing to be curious about the person you think you already know? Or will you just let the silence win?